So as per usual, as always, ask everybody to indulge me because I like to give everybody a nice, good introduction. We can't just come and start just so, right? So ladies and gentlemen, the individual that you are seeing on the screen right now, I've had the opportunity actually, and I checked it today, to know this individual for the last 15 years. That's one. Two, this individual does not know, or he probably may not know, that he is actually responsible for one of the more important professional relationships I ever had in radio. Because this individual, when doing a celebratory or anniversary party for himself and DJ Gonzo at Living Room nightclub in Arima, right? And I came to that meeting. Who was the person I was chairing at meeting at point in time? Shayna Weston, who went on to become a co-host at 96.1 for nearly 10 years. So I say thank you for that because of the fact that you were the one that introduced me to Shayna. Shayna's one of my best friends at this point in time, right? And this individual, again, I'm going even further back right now because I like to go back in the archives. This individual and this is me and this individual here. Back in 2008. Yes.
That next level.
Next level. That's the same individual right here for the next level, next night to night competition. Yeah. Now it's 2008 and we're in 2020 right now. So that just goes to show you the length of the time, you know. So at the same point in time, I've always seen the development that he's made from being a party mic man to it's a problem to the greatest on Instagram to somebody who has now developed into, I would say, probably one of the best, one of the top announcers, especially in our generation on his radio station, Boom Champions 94.1, also holding on the morning show as well. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Groove You One-on-One, Mr. Hans Des Vignes, aka Hans the, well, is it the greatest or is it the Hans? Now remember Hans is a problem, so I don't know if we still have a problem again.
No, here the thing, a lot of people were very much like, how this man call himself the greatest, but the greatest is not about me in isolation. The greatest is about, a little bit. Yeah, the greatest is about, I kind of was in a place, and I believe everybody, the you that you are now is the greatest version of you that has ever existed. So in other words, the you that is in front of me now, whoever you are, is the you that went through the most trials and tribulations, had the most successes, conquered the most failures. The you right now is the greatest version of you. It is the most knowledgeable version of you, even if it is not the healthiest version of you. The best version of you is now. So essentially when I say Hans the greatest, it's not about me being the greatest in mic, and it's not the greatest. I'm not saying I'm the greatest mic man. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I'm the greatest announcer in the world. I'm saying this version of me is the greatest version of me, and it was also a way of transitioning from that Hans is a problem thing, which was more immature, for want of a better term. But it was me moving from a younger version of me to a newer, more mature, refined version of myself. So it's
I would say it was immature. I would just say that, again, there are changes in life. Everything in life that's the most constant in life is change. And at the same point in time, we all have to go through that reinvention process. And at that point in time, Hans was a problem. But now, by the trials, the tribulations, the different things you've learned over a particular period of time, you've developed your personality into somebody who you consider to be the greatest version of yourself at this time. Yeah. You know, so once again, thank you very much for taking time out tonight. There's something that we've been doing over the last 3 weeks. I started actually with a couple of them that we had before. So you would have realized the kind of conversations that we were having. I just want to let everybody know in the comments, everybody is tuning in. If you have any questions at all, make sure to shoot it up in the comments, and I will try my best to get to them, because I also posted this picture online and a lot of people had some questions that they wanted to ask. So I'll go into my notes page because I had like get 10 or 20 questions today from Instagram. Yes, son. But before we get down to the questions, usual thing I usually start off with everybody. How has this entire situation been treating you personally right now?
Okay, so what I don't usually talk about and I'll talk about today is the fact that I kind of invested in different things through my time. One of the things I was lucky enough to invest in is real estate. So as a property owner / landlord, what happened is just I have to understand my tenant situation, and that is a reality. So despite my investment, my personal investment, I have to look at things from a human perspective. Also from a radio station perspective, our shifts have extended. We're now working 4 hours a day. The time slots kind of shifted up. A lot of things different. And during the conversation this evening, I'll go into some more of that and the importance of being an actual announcer, because I know that's something on the table right now.
Correct.
So in terms of parties, I do miss being in the parties. I won't lie. I think a lot of us who are DJs or even partiers, we miss being in the parties. We miss the frequency of the music. We miss the excitement. We miss that whole party environment. I mean, as much as people do lives and people will be having fun, like we need to be real. Like we are missing it. Some people are out here going crazy. I'm not going crazy like every day, but like some days I have my moments where I'm like, yo, where we at right now in the world, and kind of giving you a perspective of what's important and what's not important. And you know, everybody has a way of dealing with it. Some people started courses and stuff, and they're going on your courses, learning, and some people just sleeping. Everybody have their way of dealing with it. For me, in a lot of ways, I am still working. Recently, I actually launched this thing called What's Good. So, you know, I am still putting my mind to work without going out the house and going all over the place, you know.
What is the concept behind What's Good? If you could just give me a brief concept understanding that.
What's Good is a minute long or a little more than a minute long, depending on what happens during the week. Short little series that goes on the internet every Saturday. What I will highlight is good news from Trinidad and Tobago, well, mainly from Trinidad and Tobago. The past week, because a lot of good things happening, and as always, the good things do get highlighted. It's always like, you know, the shippiness will get highlighted. You know, these people doing this, so many people are disobeying, but we don't often take time to say, all right, well, yeah, look, Courts and Guardian Group just gave to the DBA step down facility, or look, Hutch and Hearty Foods and Ryan Imports and FT Car Services teamed up and they gave care packages. We don't take time, like a lot of times, we don't take time to say, all right, well, this happened and this is great.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be like, boy, they're done doing stupidness.
Yeah.
So that's what it is about.
I think I was having this discussion with a friend of mine about 2 days ago. That if you take a look at like CNN and international news, right now, coronavirus is 24/7 ball-by-ball coverage. You can't get away from it. But she stated something to me that even though the coronavirus is the main thing that might be impacting the world right now, there's a lot of other news and other things happening that may be taking place in parallel with that you don't hear about. And that raises a good point in terms of, you know, how are we now covering things that are happening outside of just the coronavirus, and what are we doing now to be able to highlight the things like what you're talking about that might be good in the communities, and not just in Trinidad but all over the region, that may be separate and apart from the coronavirus? I mean, do you think that individuals have been making an attempt to actually get that information out there within media, that is?
I think there are very little and few and far between attempts, and I do think in a big way, and we've been seeing it a lot these days, people have been saying, it's not my words, but people have been saying that in their minds and their opinions, the media in Trinidad and Tobago has been dropping the ball. Like they've been saying that. People have been saying that. People have been telling you all that. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that our news entities still believe, like whether or not they want to admit it, they still believe that negative news and scandalous news sells, and they just go down the road of doing that. And then that you get where you get.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely have a portion of our conversation which I want to talk about when it comes down to that, because I had a very interesting online one-on-one debate with a particular member of the Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago, which I'll get to. I'm not going to call the person's name, but I'll talk about that after. However, I still, one of the things that we always like to do with the groups we live is to understand the genesis of everybody here. Everybody that comes on is a person who's an entertainer, is an individual who started somewhere. So I guess the first thing I'd like to ask is, where did you find that passion to be able to get yourself involved in, I would say, entertainment? Let me start with entertainment, because obviously, yes, you're now an announcer, which I refer to it as at some point, but actually we can do that now, the difference between a mic man and an announcer. But before we go to that, how did you, or where did you find the passion to be able to get started into what you wanted to do right now?
All right, well, the first thing I have to say is, at 13 years old, I wanted to be on radio so bad. Literally, Duchess was my neighbor, listening to Dr. Hyde and Maximilla cassettes. Dr. Hyde and Maximilla had a cassette. Can't remember one of the dub. I think it's dub 35 or one of them. And
yes, no one at old school, man. When you know the dub 35s and it,
they had that on it, and that kind of made me fall in love with the whole vibe. I wanted to be on radio and TV so bad. I wanted to be in entertainment so bad. Looking at 98.9 and our whole movement, looking at cell construction, looking at the radioactive, looking at the jugglers. Well, honestly, jugglers was my favorite, but like radioactive was also my favorite because I'm from Diego Martin, so radioactive was definitely one. I've always loved Excalibur. Big respect to Dory, so I see you check it. And I have a point there as well with the bike men that I used to listen to. What I was as a younger person, as a student, so I would look at all of these people's stories. That was when websites first came out. So I would look like, who's the members of Excalibur, who's the members of Radioactive, how they get started, what's the story? Listen to one or two they played on the website, because at that point in time, Chow had pop websites for them. And like, I was very much a student of that, of what they are, who they are, and from there, I wanted to. I'll give you all the shorter version of the long story. I wanted to be a pilot. I was too young to go to flight school, and I ended up doing CAT, which is an accounting thing that kind of leads you into ACCA. In between that, I ended up linking up with a DJ group called Militant Crew, which I was part of for a little bit. Group split up. I was working 98.9 overnights. Eventually, got an opportunity to host Party Flavor Talent Face Off, went on audition, and from there 94.1 formed, joined Boom Champions. In between, I left because I had the offer from 99.1 and CNMG, where I was hosting shows for them, and they didn't want me on radio on another network while I was hosting shows for them. So like that, there have been a lot of movements, but the whole passion came from that 13-year-old version of me. And I always tell people this, boy, remember how bad you wanted to be where you are at now. So plenty of people, like, they reach on radio and they're like, yeah, whatever. I don't care, I reach in late, I don't care. But when you think about how bad you wanted to be there, when you wanted to be there and you weren't there, it's kind of hard to be grateful now.
And it's interesting you say that. It's interesting you say that, because I had a conversation with well, we spoke with Captain John from St. Vincent like 2 weeks ago. And one of the conversations came out of that was, why isn't he putting out more DJ mixes now? So from that, we had challenged John to be able to do a DJ mix within the next 2 weeks. He ain't dropped it as yet, but that's a different story. But the bottom line is that he and I had a conversation, and he was saying that, you know, having that talk about putting out the mixes kind of put him into the mindset of going back and practicing and getting back in the mode that he used to be when it came down to music. And one of the things that he realized is that over the last couple of years, he was starting to lose the passion because of the outside noise of the industry. So I guess the question I want to ask you, because you just made the point about remembering what was the thing that drove your passion when you were so young. How is it, are you able to keep yourself still motivated with all that outside noise going on in the industry?
Because again, it's like sometimes I just stop and look at the reality of being here in this position where somebody could actually consider you a top mic man or a top DJ or a top announcer. I mean, like when I look at certain things, it's surreal. I went to Spain for a hosting gig. Technically, I went to Spain to host. You know, when I look at the fact that sports marks throughout the region, sports marks, I mean, I get sent to Jamaica, stay in a nice hotel, get paid, and you get, you know, you're basically getting in scenarios where people are paying you to do what you like. So why not be grateful? I mean, I won't lie to you, like, there were times in the past where I was even considering, like, yo, you see the DJing element and the micing element, nah, I want to come out of that because I want to focus more on this or that. And then, like, Gonzo was like, nah, you know, let me stick it out, you know, you should stick behind it, you know, thing, whatever. And, like, I'll be real with you all, a lot of me actually micing and parties still is because of that Hans and Gonzo relationship. Like, that's a main thing. And that is a matter of, like, it may sound jokey, but I am very much Shomari into loyalty with reference to a lot of things. Yeah. And I have a kind of, there's something that I kind of stand by. If somebody don't stand by it, I understand this too. But I am that mic man who believes in working with one particular DJ.
And you and Gonzo will be at this now for how long now?
This would actually be properly be year 50. This would properly be year 50.
Wow. Shit.
This would properly be year 50. And yes, in my mind, I was putting together certain plans, but this would probably be year 50. And
because I remember, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because that would have been our conversation, but I remember a couple of years ago, just to give people an idea of the concept of loyalty, you and I had a conversation where there was a particular radio frequency that wanted you to come across to them. And you told me at the point in time that the reason that you didn't go was because they're DJ, they wanted you alone. And I was like, yo, if they don't have the package, I ain't moving.
Yeah. And that's actually true. And like, I actually had a program director from another station storm out. He stormed out of the room and he was like, yeah, well, if that's what you feel and that's what you're doing, then whatever. And he stormed out of the room, like legit. He stormed out of the room. I was like, yo, what is going on with this man? And that's the kind of thing. And you stand by, even now, we had a clothing deal at a point in time. And part of the clothing deal was, like, they originally wanted me, and I was like, all right. And part of the clothing deal, when they approached me, I was like, yo, all right, well, yeah, we handling you, but we also handle your DJ too, and, you know, that was the clothing deal. So there were deals have been made based on both of us, you know, and situations with both of us. And I really believe in working with one DJ because, I'll go into a big point here, and I hope a lot of the DJs and mic men take this point. When you look at the greatest mic men, who people would consider the greatest mic men, it is because mainly they had great DJs with them. Give you a perfect example. Hoppy and DJ Dane.
Yeah.
Listen, you could say what you want. Yes, Hoppy is brilliant. But with all the music is the center. As a mic man, the music is the center. DJ Dane. The music is the center. Yes, self-construction. Yes, Blaze is great. But Johan, bottling. You understand?
Yeah.
And they could go down the line and they could talk about many other mic men. And when you see mic men pull away from that DJ who was there for them, and that DJ who was the
there's always finding trouble to be able to center themselves like how they were with the original DJ. Because I also believe that, you know, DJing and announcing is about telling a story. and every story have different sides to it. And if it is that you are the editor, somebody has to be the writer, and somebody has to be the person binding the book. And that is why everybody is important to the entire process of the book itself now. And you can't really tell the story properly if it is that you don't have loyalty to the individuals that's helping you put together the story in the first place.
Yeah.
But did you of yourself ever want to dabble in actual DJing?
That would have been very early in the game, but I like the action I'm liking, boy.
So for noteworthy reasons, you can't juggle no tune.
No, I'm not good a little bit. I know how to do people, but I ain't good. I gotta come here and juggle and no. I'll be real with you. I'm not good a little bit, but you know what? I on what my part of the puzzle is, in my part of the puzzle.
I get that.
There's a thing that goes on. I say sometimes, boy, study your work. Don't study nobody else.
Nobody else work. I agree.
With your work. Don't study nobody else work unless that person work affecting your work.
I agree.
Study your work. What you supposed to do? You're supposed to put the pipes. Don't look to criticize the electrician.
That is it. I agree with that. On that same note, as I was inferring to that before, what do you consider the main difference between a mic man, a hype man, and an announcer? For people who don't understand, because I think we kind of interchangeably use the term, and for me, there's a difference. So I want to hear your explanation on that.
Now there are a few. So let's begin with the mic man. In my opinion, this is not good, but in my opinion, the mic man is crafty in terms of putting together arguments. Arguments for things. You have quirky things to say. He's react a certain way to different things. He know the music inside and out. He know the music. He could bust arguments in between the song. That is the mic man. That is the mic man who understands. That's what the mic man is. The mic man comes from the song system itself.
Right.
You understand? The mic man does not just go behind the tune about, hey!
Yeah.
Oh! The mic man is not just noise. The mic man is crafty on that mic. See it as an art in some way, form, or fashion. No, we talk about the hype. The man who hyping, a lot of the times the hype man is just noise, and a hype man is not able to fit properly in a starter slot.
Correct.
Starting slot as a mic man is very important. As anybody who goes to parties, you would know that person that is starting the party, he cannot be but nice, crafty, sweet arguments in between. Simple. All right, ladies, I see y'all come out tonight. You know, ladies, you're looking good. If you know you come out looking good, I want to see you walk forward now. You are really it's nice. And or you like I said, we just using the Diwali rhythm because it's easy there on my head now. And it says something like, respect all the couples in the party. Short, very short argument. And it flows smoothly into got somebody. Nice little pieces of craft arguments, not shouting at people, but letting people know that there's a mic man there with them, helping them to get in the groove.
So it's concise to build the groove for the party. Then it's concise to build the groove for the entire event. Right.
Yeah. No.
Right.
Going more into the hype man now. The hype man may get some forwards when the hype man is on, but the hype man cannot stand up in the start of the party. The hype man could. You think about the hype man as the striker that could only score goals.
Right.
He could only score goals. He could only run and hit the ball. You have no talent on that football field. He cannot pass the ball. He cannot move it to the back. You cannot put him in defense. He's in the front and in the front alone. That is cool. But that is a thing as well. No. The announcer. The announcer is a kind of different thing. The announcer is someone who could put everything into perspective,
right,
as a wordsmith, and knows when to say what, knows when it is too much talk, when it is not enough talk.
Right.
The announcer is the one who could be on TV and radio. The announcer is the one who could read news, read ad-libs, because on radio, ad-libs is a very important part. Fudgy Pelper, boy.
Yeah, boy, I don't see him there. That is a foundation Excalibur, man. There.
I want to just go back to saying that point again. Every great mic man that has gotten ratings is because of a great.
Yep, and Fudgy Pelper, definitely. Yeah.
So the announcer is the one that could read the ad-libs and do what needs to be done on radio, on TV even, and on live broadcast.
Right.
That's the announcer. The announcer is the person who can be packaged and refined as necessary. Do you
think it's challenging
to not have a good command of the English language?
Do you think it's challenging to be all three individuals? And I ask that because I have a friend who was, it's so funny I say this, Baba Bridgen, who actually was on radio at a point in time. He's an exceptionally good announcer, right? He's very articulate, very intelligent, understands that just having a proper command of the English language, but at the same point in time, he uses facts and he's very factual in what he's saying. And even though, yes, he will have an opinion, at the same point in time, the way that he brings across his point always sounds very refined, right? But it was almost like if he was too, how was he saying? It was almost like if he sounded too polished to be a mic man. Yes, but he had arguments. He had argument, but at the same point in time, he was too polished to be a mic man. But then because of his physical disposition, he wasn't necessarily a hype man. So do you think it's possible for somebody to be all three? And what is the challenges to being all three individuals?
Okay, so I think a perfect example of somebody that fit into all three is Blaze. When Blaze was Cell Construction Blaze, he was definitely an example of somebody who fit into all three categories very smoothly. I also think Jason Williams, when he was still doing parties, is a good example of that, somebody who fit into all three. Even if you can go further back, like into your Brian Haynes, like he fit into all of them. He fit into all of them quite well. Tamara Williams is the perfect example of this, in my opinion. She was a hype woman.
Yeah, she was.
She was a mic woman.
Yeah.
And she was very much an announcer when put into a TV scenario. And added to which, I go back again to great DJs. Who was Tamara Williams' DJ? Shotmaster J. Yeah. You're correct. I want to make sure and cover some of the questions that I got today. Because usually when we started, I always miss all the questions. I don't want to miss all the questions say. So let me start with the first one. With how would you describe your first radio gig? So when it says you had now get on radio and your first day on radio, were you nervous as hell? Did you go on thinking, well, Hans is a problem, dog, so I go and mash up this anyway? What was it like for your first gig on radio? Nah, well, with Militant Crew, I won't lie, those guys, like we train like Beast Boy. I just remember in those early times, like I was 16 years old. And this is part of us that I already talk about plenty, but I was 16 years old and I was working in a video production company. And these guys, like almost every day, Sheldon Felix, Daniel Duff, Christian Douglas, Dean Phillip, and Lindsay Wood. Those were some of the guys behind me. And we would train like 3-4 times a week. We go to Lindsay House in Barataria, and turntables and a microphone and records, and we practicing, bro. Like that's how real it was. We was practicing 3 times a week. So when it was time for me to do radio, I was like, yo, this is how I had to be. But my interpretation of radio was wrong. So when Johan was listening overnight, and there was a staff meeting in 98.9, and he's like, yo, who is going to be Saturday into Sunday overnight, boy? I hear that mic, man, he's just be busting a real argument, boy, way. And like my interpretation of radio was wrong, and in between that, like when 98.9 closed down, I actually went and did broadcasting courses. So in between, I actually went to courses to learn, to improve. Like it's not just, well, I wake up and I decide to do this or decide to do that. First time on radio was we actually did a feature with Mosiah Goldstar, and we juggled some tunes and had arguments, and you know it was hype, and you know it was like Militant Crew is we're gonna be on radio from now on. Radio will never be the same, and that was the last thing I said the first time I was on radio. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I remember it actually, and you know, like different times you go on radio, you get nervous. Sometimes you beat yourself up over something that you would have said in the
correct. Because even the other day, Puffy was making the argument, which a lot of people don't really give us enough credit for, that we are sometimes our biggest critics, and we would go out there and put on a performance and do something, and individuals really won't understand that sometimes you'll go back and you're sitting on the car, you're driving home, and you're home in your house, and you're thinking about something that you did that you probably could do better, and that will be in your mind until the next moment when you actually could do it better, you know?
And there's a next point. The biggest teacher, and this is bigger than miking and radio and announcing, the biggest teacher is a mistake. It's something amazingly embarrassing, because what happens is you figure out in your mind, what would I do if this was to happen to me again? If this ever happened to me again, this is how I'm going to deal with it. So, for example, like, I know a lot of different parts of a mixer, because in miking, I press different things and it caused somewhat of a break in transmission. So So I understand. So like the radio mixer, I understand the radio mixer. So when something happened, I could approach it calmer. In this dispensation of me, I could be more calm in situations that people would panic. Because I've already been in situations where I panic, and I notice the panic don't help, one, and two, you know what the solutions could possibly be, because you already make all the mistakes, but enough of the mistakes.
I think as human beings, many times we are afraid to make mistakes because we are afraid to look bad now. But that's when the ego have to come out, and the understanding that you're trying to become better at your craft. That is what has to win over the ego, to remind you that if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the road, or it's not the end of the journey. As we always say, is a marathon, it's not a sprint, you know? So if as a young mic man, you, as you rightfully say, you get called out in a staff meeting and say, who's that man working overnight that busting real argument? So that can be used as an embarrassing moment, that you could have sit around and be like, wait, boy, the man will make multi meeting, and that would affect your confidence in total. But instead of doing that, you use that to actually now better yourself in the long run.
Well, honestly, Johan did say it. Like, Johan, I really respect Johan, boy. Johan Seaton, I really respect Johan Seaton. Because to Madmen Productions, into what they are now with Ultimate Rejects, like, I just really rate Johan. He didn't even say it. He didn't really say it in a bad way, you know. Right. Time. Again, it was a learning experience, and even like Red Alert. Red Alert took a lot of time to teach me a lot of things, and that's one thing that people don't talk about. People reach certain points and they don't mention those who would have helped them along the way. When like so many people, different people helped me, and there are a lot of y'all out there, mic men and DJs, like you're afraid to ask people for help. Just ask advice, just ask a question. Like, the worst answer you could possibly get is a no. Ask. The worst thing that could happen is a no.
And then even sometimes when you get a no, ironically, life is just put in a position where you end up getting a yes at some point in time. So it might be a no for that time, you know, but you get a yes at some point in time.
When you ask the question, you put yourself on your radar too, because sometimes, no lie, like, when I look back at Ricardo Drew put himself on the radar way before he had that.
Yeah. You're right about that. All right, next question. As an announcer, how did you overcome the fear of public speaking in making an announcement? So I guess the more detailed version of that question is, how did you overcome your fears, if any fears you had at all, to be able to articulate properly when it is that you go out in front of on your radio, or to me, which is a bigger test, walking out on a stage with 10,000 people? Because here we're going on. As much as you want to be in the game, if it is that there's nothing sometimes more humbling than to walk out on a stage with 10,000 people and say something totally off, and everybody start and either laugh at you or watch you like, what he really saying? And everybody, I think, has gone through that, if you have the experience, at least once.
Yeah.
So how did you overcome that fear then?
Hitting myself with the reality is like, either you want this or you don't want this.
Right.
And you had to decide, either you want this or you don't want this. I hope we're gonna touch on certain things, because I see Leo's in the chat. We had to touch on certain things.
I will double check and see if Leo's still here, because you know Leo is the king of certain DJs when they're playing in parties. It's the same thing. Led, I think he set a trend that a lot of people are not aware of what he did, you know. But it seems like he came off already.
No. But I want to touch on one particular thing.
Sure, go ahead.
So with us, especially Hans and Gonzo, the main thing because Gonzo actually came to me, he and Rocker were in combination, Rage, Rockers and Gonzo Entertainment.
Whoa.
Like, yo, Rockers going away to study. Yeah, you no longer with Militant Crew, you're willing to come and mic up. And I'm like, yeah, but my main thing is, if I doing this, I don't want to do this the same way everybody doing this.
Right, yeah.
I want to do different things. I don't want to do this the same way everybody. I don't want to just go up there and play the same songs the same way, and legit Gonzo. And again, you see, this is again, it goes back to the loyalty and working with each other. So, for example, and when you talk about big crowds and stuff and how you get over it, sometimes it's planning. Shomari, it's planning. It's to know you going on that stage and you already have it's like running into a battle and you have 10 cannons.
Right.
And nobody know you have these 10 cannons.
Right.
And when you shoot all these 10 cannons, it's all over. Because you done plan in your mind how you're going to execute, what you're going to execute, when you're going to execute it.
Right.
After you fire them cannons. So, for example, that Great Fest that we played the Royal Castle jingle, right? First time it ever played, like, we know what we was doing. Like, we planned that, like, very thoroughly. Like, so I'll tell you how the idea originated, and then we'll go from there. And then I'll tell you about an idea that we did this year. So we were in the airport. We had just landed in Tobago for Great Fest. Royal Castle was there, right? Speedy, Gonzo, and I, Speedy was just my real good partner.
Right.
And he see the Royal Castle and he starts singing the jingle, and then we just wait now. All three of us know this jingle by heart. Then everybody probably know this jingle by heart.
Right.
So we knew when we were running out there in that Great Fest, we know what we was going to play to lead up to it. Then when we played it, and after we played it, we were going hard soca.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And it worked because we knew what we were doing. We set it and we had it and we planned it.
But I think the counter to that is that again, for individuals in this, which is a creative industry, as much as it is that you would set something to plan, I think now by other people seeing what you did, they want to copy that. And I don't think they will really understand the scientific thinking that goes into a stage performance. You understand?
Exactly. So they would just do it wild. And then
exactly.
That's why you would get somebody like players saying, oh yeah, stop doing that shit.
Yeah.
Because they're doing that shitty.
Yeah.
Everybody, like, it's not a disrespect to anybody here, but anybody who ran after us and did it, you did it shitty. Because you did not do it, you did not set it up. You just do it because you want the hype and a forward. No, because you copy somebody, somebody else, and you do shit. So, for example, this there was a big argument about Gunman and She-Hole. Gunman and She-Hole are supposed to play no party. And I said to myself, Gunman and She-Hole, boy, this causing this big issue, boy, and as a somebody from Trinidad and Tobago sing this song, and this is an issue. I say, you know what? I'm gonna get Gunman and She-Hole on pan.
On pan.
I called Chakri. I was like, Chakri, I have a way favor to ask you. And he's like, what, Gunman and She-Hole? And I was like, yes, Gunman and She-Hole. And we played it on pan. And when we played it on pan in soca, people went mad.
Yeah.
People went crazy when they had Iron Park. This is another party. This was a signature party for the carnival. Big up to our events. Schoon, Kelly, respect, right? Joe, respect. What they did, the idea behind Iron Park was combining pan with regular music.
With regular music, yeah.
What we did in Iron Park, before Iron Park, we had a cache of mixes that we got from different panists. Mainly you and Chakri. Big respect to Chakri.
Right.
And we use those things in between. So at some point in time, when you were playing, people were almost confused. Is that a DJ mix?
Exactly.
Man playing?
Exactly.
But it was out of this world.
Yeah, because I remember seeing the YouTube video for that, and I was actually in a lot of shock that these guys actually take Gunman and She-Hole and play it on pan. it's like well, and I'm just going to show you that nobody could replace your ability to create a performance from scratch. Yes, and people could copy what you do, but at the same point in time, nobody could replace your ability to be able to create something that has originated from you as an individual. So even as I was tell Kerry that we have a bunch of little selector Kerrys running around Trinidad and Tobago, and it's fine to emulate somebody, but at the same point in time, a lot of times they don't understand the technicality of what Kerry is doing. You understand? And even a guy from a guy from St. Vincent was like, yo, this guy, I hear this guy here sung plenty like you and Mike, however, whatnot. And they don't really understand the science of what I'm doing, because there's a particular reason and purpose why I'm doing what I'm doing. So just like you, when it is that you guys decided to take the Gunman and She-Hole song and play it on pan, there's a science behind it. And if it is you don't understand the science behind it, then you're basically just going to do it just so. So the lesson to be learned here is come up with original ideas, but if it is a taking an idea from some particular place, understand the purpose and the reason of why the person is there. That's just my
I don't think so. Like, okay, so for example, right? Simo she wasn't ready. Not anybody could go on the internet and pull long she wasn't ready. Right. But if you had to use a bottom.
Exactly. Yeah. Nice history. Just like how if it is that you go now and you hear attention, thinking it's Private Ryan. I sure could find that anywhere, but that's Private Ryan drop dog. Like,
are you dumb? Why would you do that? Are you dumb?
Generally speaking, there are multiple complaints that are made by the party public as well as the radio listening public that we all know over a particular period of years that we hear very often. So I sat down today and I'll tell you how I came up with this. I fell asleep on my couch I actually dream I was in a party, and a girl walk up to me and say, "Why are DJ doing so?" So I got up and was like, "Eureka! I'm going to ask these questions." So the first one, right, and this is exactly how people say it, right? The criticism number one, them DJs just feel that they, right? How them DJs just always feel like them better than people. So do you think that there's a justifiable argument that we announcers and DJs feel that we is all that? And in a addition to that as well, how do you Hans balance between being confident, not being cocky, and being humble at the same time?
All right.
Because the argument is, all we feel how we there now. All we DJs feel how we there. We feel we could get any girl we want. We feel we could say whatever we want and get with it. What's your response to that?
All right, let's be honest with ourselves. Not everybody could go up on a stage.
Right.
And reason being, it takes a certain level of confidence in self to go on a stage.
Correct.
It takes a level of confidence in self as a DJ to know you are in control of this party.
Right.
There needs to be a level of confidence in self.
Right.
Now, not arrogance of self, but confidence in self.
Right.
And then I've seen it a lot. Sometimes people come up with these concepts of other people without knowing them or even taking time to understand them. You may think somebody feel it there, but it may be some genuine crap. Like, let's be real. Shomari, we've both been in scenarios where our name on a flyer, our picture on a flyer, and you reach by the door and a security guard going and somebody who's part of the promotions group going and be like, "Who's you?"
Yeah.
Like, bro, I'm on the flyer, look.
Yeah.
I'm on the flyer. That's my name.
Yeah.
And it's not really there. It's just a matter of disrespect sometimes associated with that. Like, I don't mind going to the door and somebody saying, "Well, you know, let me just double check." All right. But the problem is the attitude. Now, I don't give back attitude, but my reaction is going to be different than people's reactions are going to be different when they are treated with that kind of disrespect. Also, again, sometimes when somebody, a DJ in a party, I could particularly speak for myself. Sometimes I zone out, like I legit zone out, focusing on what is about to go down, because
that's a very good point to raise, because a lot of people say, "Well, I see you in the party, but I didn't talk to you because, you know, you're just stand up looking standoffish now," you know? But a lot of times people don't understand that we as creatives actually taking our time to set our mind in the mood to go and perform and to read the crowd and to read what the DJ played before, so you would understand the kind of presence that you have to have on stage. And people will actually mistake that for being, well, Hans feel he dana or Shomari feel like he dana. You understand?
And here the thing, Shomari, like I'll tell people this, in life, I have friends. I have real friends. Like all of us, we have real friends, as in people who know you from way back when. Big respect to my friend Andrew Pear. Andrew, one day, he was like, "Boy, you know, my sister see you," and she's like, "Boy, you know, Hans is the same Hans from when he was 12 years old." And I am like, "Eureka, dog, that is it." These people do not know, the people who would say certain things about you, Hans, they do not know you. So do not even study it.
Well, to answer that, do you then think, which is a question not to ask, but I could actually interject it here, do you think that the image that is put out by individuals like us on social media, especially Instagram and that kind of thing, is a lot of times not matching the actual person that we are, and people actually look at who you are as an Instagram person or as a public figure, because you have, like, let's say 14,000 followers on Instagram, and they see you in one way, but because they already kind of picture you in a particular way of how they want to envision you, it's very difficult for them to actually understand that, yo, you are a real person with feelings and hang-ups like everybody else. But
you know, the truth is, that's on them. You have to, like legit, a lot of people facing their own battles and looking to take their battles out on other people. I just out there, just doing me. I just legit, I open to meet anybody, talk to anybody, show respect and love to anybody. Like even this youth band, Fusion Songs, I see Papa thing the other day and tag me in it. I'm like, yo, I gotta repost this. Like there's so many young people that have tagged me or asked me little things, and I would just be like, all right, well, yeah, this what it is, and that's how I could go about. Like even certified sounds, big respect to Samson who taught us for a little while, and I was able to give him a lot of knowledge. Like I could. Okay, so you mentioned about you and Shane, and that's something I would never even think of twice about. Like, when I got somebody like Lubes, the first time anybody put a mic in Lubes' hand to be on TV was me. Legit. It was my cameraman. Like when you were doing parties in UE, Red, White, and Water, Lubes was the cameraman. I was the first person to say, yo, Lubes, you're gonna play it off a week, like I on vacation, and you and other people will host the scene. And that was like strategic plan, and like Lubes is always talk about so many different things. Like Pablo, the first time Trinidad ever get hired for a party is because it was my birthday thing, and I'm like, yo, we had to put Trinidad Alliance in it. And then after that, other things happened for him, and he was like, yo, Hans boy, you really helped my career. And he's
and we can see now that from, and again, this is actually a good point to state why I and Chacha and the entire team decided to do these Groove Theory Lives, because you don't know who you're impacting by what you're doing. And just by being able to share knowledge, share information, and give people a chance at something, you don't know in the long run how that's going to impact that person's life. You give the example of Lubes, and at the end of the day, Lubes now is one of the announcers announcers and mic men that are doing the most in the entertainment industry. I just see Aswad actually came into the chat. Aswad is a guy who is a video editor and he's a DJ. As I travel and do St. Lucia Carnival and other places already. So the fact of the matter is that you don't know by the impact and the influence that you have and the opportunities that you give people, you don't know really and truly how you're going to be impacting these people in the long run. And that is something really important by what it is that we're doing. I want to get to the second question because I don't want to run out of time, right? The second criticism, especially by females, when it comes down to DJs. Damn DJs on radio just talk a sort of nonsense all the time. Them is the worst. Sure. It doesn't know nothing, and they're making a set of noise in the radio. What is your response to that?
All right. Two parts of that response quickly. Yes, some people just talk mess. Like that's a reality. But funny enough, everything that you see around you is also a reflection of society, because these radio announcers, they don't come from outer space, just like the politicians. Everything around us is a reflection of us. So when you see somebody on the radio talking nonsense, it's because that actually seriously represents a group of society and their thinking. What we can do is help to impact, help to improve, help to show and shape the society. I do admit there are lots of radio announcers that go on here, they talk of foolishness. I try to get it right a lot of the times, but at some point in time, I may very well be getting it horribly wrong. But they represent a segment of society, and feel free to call in, right? Let us say what you have to say. And then sometimes people say you're talking nonsense, but sometimes nonsense is just a matter of opinion.
Correct. So then I would ask then, being a radio announcer, and for anybody that also has the interest in being a radio announcer, what is your process like to prepare for a show in particular? So let me say tomorrow you have 6 to 9 or 6 to 10 as it is right now. So you have a 6 to 10 tomorrow morning. you have to come to a show prepared. I know from my experience of working with Shayna and Kimberly, what our preparation was like. But what is your preparation like that you can advise other young people wanting to become announcers of what they could do to be prepared for a radio show?
All right. Well, let's tackle this quickly. All right. So a few things. When you're doing a certain shows require certain things, certain talents, and certain structures. Most radio shows, there would be a clock for the shift where at certain points in time, you'd have certain features, whether it be news, entertainment news, where you would talk, where you would play music, you'd have those things. So the first part is knowing the structure of your shift.
Right.
Second part is being prepared in terms of the stories that you're going to touch on, especially if it's morning radio. And also, like, you try to keep, a topic inside of there and try to have your topics set aside. So you always have topics that you're prepared,
right,
ready to talk about and have a little banter on. Now, sometimes the shift becomes like very, almost like automatic in the way it flows. So right, there tends to become complacency at some point in time. But I'll use this time to say what I'm going to say here, right? If you listen to all the radio stations right now, especially urban radio stations, there's a major cutback in terms of the personalities on radio. What right is and what has happened is in most radio stations, the most proficient announcers are on air at this point in time. Meaning, right, a lot of these radio stations, the people that are on air are the people that can read news if it comes down to it. Right. People that can read press release, especially in this pandemic. The people that can relay the information and communicate the information properly in the correct tone that it needs to be carried out in. Those are the people who are on radio right now. If you listen to anyone,
I think people actually take that for granted in the context of the people who are on radio right now are the individuals that have gauged the mood of the country and can be able to give information in a particular way while still entertain people at a certain level. Because, and I mean, it's just a personal thing for me, so it doesn't have to be for everybody else. It's always strange for me driving down the road now and hearing guys on the radio like, yo, take, and, everybody getting crazy and hype. Like we're going to a party Friday, but I no party to go to, dog. Yes, sir. So to me, I think that now, especially if you are a young person wanting to get on radio and to be an announcer and to be wherever, you have to be multifaceted and you have to understand now, as you rightfully say, the importance of reading news. And not just reading news, but reading news out loud. There's a real big difference. A lot of people don't know that. The importance of being able to articulate your opinion, but for it to be fact-based. So then, as you touch on that point of being on urban radio, how important do you think it is for you now, as somebody in this young generation, to be factual on urban radio? Because a lot of times, we all know urban radio is hype, is what party we go in, big up Sharon, and she sister Jean, and the children down in the back, and yada. But now, we are at a point where we have to be factual in what it is that we're putting out there. We can't just sit down and say something like, yeah, well, I know 100 people in the country ain't get tested and them have corona and yada. But now you actually have to be factual. So speak about that if you could.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that is why, like, it's so chopped now in terms of radio. Like, a lot of the people who would have said any kind of wild thing, they not on air right now,
Yeah.
They're not on, because reputations cannot afford it. Like, it's important. And like in this scenario, you see. So, for example, Nigel Nicholson, he's always talked to me about that. He's like, sometimes he's here from students saying, well, boy, I come and do this announcement course and I could talk good and when I turn on my radio, there's what I am. And you kind of look at it in times like these and you're like, so this is it. And I'm going to say it without apology. Who vexes? The hype man will come and go and fade away. I have seen many come, go, and fade away in my time.
Yeah.
Right? But you see the announcer is forever. The Adrian Don Mora will be forever.
Yeah.
Alan Diaz will be forever. People like Jason Williams will be forever.
Yeah.
Tamara Williams will be forever. the announcer is forever. The hype man or hype woman, that's for a time.
Yeah.
They're going to unfade up. Because at some point in time, their audience is going to get more mature and they're not going to require somebody being hype again.
Yeah. I get that. I totally get that. I think that is actually one of the most important points to come out of this entire. And you see, Joel Boss now comments and say truth. It's the truth. You know, when you look at, and I always tell people, I think as in entertainment, you have a shelf life for your generation. And you, Hans, could attest to this, that so many people that we used to entertain, and I see Joel Boss here, so that's a good segue. Joel Boss was involved in DJing before. His life has taken a particular turn. He still might go to parties, he still might go to events, but our generation has changed. And a lot of people who used to be partying every weekend now have greater responsibilities that don't allow them the facility to be able to do that. And then as with age, as some people say, you see everything. So going to our next party might not necessarily interest you as much as other things where you are right now. So as a young DJ, as a young announcer, you always have to make sure that you put yourself in a position where it is that you could constantly transform into something else. You understand? Or develop yourself past what you're doing at that point in time. Because the same people who partying now is not going to be the same people that partying 10 years down the line. So if you look at it from a business perspective, you gotta look at what making good business. What is a good long-term business? Is it good long-term business to go and dress up and go on stage and be a hype man and not be able to read news or not be able to articulate your point clearly or to be factually based? And to the credit, I've seen some people, especially who work in radio now, who started off as hype people and vibes people, and they just understood that, yo, I need to actually do more research into the craft and be more prepared so that when I come on radio, I have more to say than actually just having nothing to say but to go, yo! And that's something that goes far.
No.
Yeah? We
also had a touch, so like I look at, one of my favorite people to look at as a case study is Just Jace. Because Just Jace has played the entire field, and I'll go back to it. Just Jace, he's a DJ, he could go on a party, he could hype for his audience, something, and be good and cool. He was very big in his prime time, so to speak, but right now, I think right now is just prime time. That's my opinion. I don't think it's prime time, but left, because Jace also is on most ads, he's producing most ads, he's even on TV hosting. So it's like, you need to be able to play different parts of the field where necessary.
Yeah.
And just be able to move that versatility, as Jordan was saying. You should try as much as possible, whoever you are. So, for example, I haven't told all my secrets to everybody in the world, but there are some things that I have done. So, for example, I did vocal training at one point in time.
Right.
I actually did vocal training, how to use my voice and not lose my voice.
Correct.
I did acting at a point in time when by Penelope Spencer did an acting course, and that was to aid in delivering ads and even being on radio. When at some point in time I went to London about 2-3 years ago. I went to London to do a TV broadcasting course, and I was already on TV in Trinidad and show the cap again. Like I was already on TV when I did that broadcasting course, and it's like you always have to be sharpening because you never know, and you always have to be ready and have them cannons in the back that nobody know about. Yeah, so that
nobody can really deny your talent and the work that you put in, and that is the work that you put in for yourself. So that's also another point that we want to make to everybody listening to you live, is about the work that you put in for yourself. You don't necessarily put everything out on social media. You don't always have to say, well, I in this class and post on Instagram, because a lot of times when you do that work for your own self and you come back and people see it, it's like, yo, how this man gets so good? You want to know a secret, but at that point in time, you've already known the work that you put in. Now we'll move to the next argument after that, because I have another one. This one you see from females plenty. All them DJs in the party, they start to talk out every song. Why the DJ have to talk out all the song for? Why every song the DJ have to be on the mic talking? He like to hear himself alone. Or? Where's your response to that?
It's true. It's true. Let me tell you what you should, right? I'll tell you what's the truth. A lot of people feel it's about them. I did 1 year with the HD family. I don't know if you remember that year. There was a year that Marshall Montano was not in Carnival, but he was observing Carnival, and he was even here for part of Carnival that people didn't know. And me, Zan, and Patrice and Farmer holding down the band. And he asked a very valid question in our closed-door meeting about, you know, what people see as the most important thing. And he said the most important thing is the audience. And that point stuck with me, because the most important thing is not the DJ. The most important thing is not the sound system. The most important thing is not the lights. The most important thing is not the promoter. The most important thing is not the mic man or the security or the bathrooms. The most important thing is the audience. All these other things are just things that are provided to accommodate and help the audience feel better or enjoy this experience. It is not about you. And that's what some people get with. It is not about you. You may want to come and bust this big argument and do this and do that, but at the end of the day, it's just not right for the audience. And sometimes I have my 4 cannons in the back ready to bust, you know, but it's not the right time for the audience to see them cannons come out.
Yeah, so just like with the DJ, the announcer also have to announce his position. So we've been talking about that for the last 2 weeks with all the DJs we had on in terms of playing your position. Announcers have to announce the position, and they have to understand the audience and understand that, as you rightfully said, even though people come to see you, it's not about you, because the same respect that they come to see you, you have to give them the same respect in terms of dealing with them, because, as you rightfully said, it's about the audience. It's not about you. You know, it's not about you. I see Kerry coming this year. I see Selector Kerry coming there. But yeah, it's the truth. It is the truth that it's not about the DJs. Yeah, people come to see you, but at the same point in time, it's about the audience. And if it is that you don't understand that as an announcer, you're going to feel it's about you. And then you're going to be talking through everything, and that's not making any sense. I also want to get your point of view on when I was having the conversation with Laird. Laird was saying that because I was telling Laird at the point in time, and it's just my point of view, and this has been my growth since the beginning of the entire COVID-19 thing. I personally believe that a lot more influencers had nothing to say towards kind of encouraging the people that they're trying to influence to buy a ticket, get them a follow, get them a double tap on Instagram. I found that a lot of them were very silent when it came to COVID-19. And as such, it came to a point where people are still going online, drink, whatever, whatnot. And there has been an argument on social media where plenty of the influencers have had nothing to say, right? Now, when I brought up that point with Laird was like, yeah, but any day, you're an individual, nobody could make you do what it is that you have to do. That was the exact words that Laird was saying. But as I was making a point to, I was making a point to Preedy that at the end of the day, Hans, Preedy, Selector Kerry, whoever it is, may have 10,000 followers that will take him on, that at the end of the day, they're not going to take on the Minister of National Security, they're not going to take on whoever, whatnot, because at the end of the day, as influencers, which is what the term implies, we have the ability through our craft and through what we do to influence the actions of people. When Hans go on a microphone and say XYZ, somebody in the house going to laugh and call in and say, yo, Hans, I was listening to you on radio today. That was a real good conversation, dog. Kerry or whoever DJ have the ability to go a party and play songs and have a wide following of people that will come just to hear that fellow that might never take on what they say. So the question I really asked, which is what Laird was saying, do you think we as announcers, entertainers, DJs have a responsibility to be role models in that regard? Or is it that we just have to treat it as well we like everybody else?
Well, so they're different to each his own, right? That's the first thing. Like, let's say it in a much more crass way, but you know, but again, to each his own, and what we need to realize with, especially with COVID-19, and people, nobody has come forth and said this shit. Some people, actually no, let me be honest. everybody.
Be honest. I'd rather be honest.
Everybody is struggling with this scenario right now. Every single person is struggling with it. Yeah. I spoke to somebody who was very popular, and he told me, yo, Hans, straight up, I am going mad in my house, and I thinking of doing some crazy things.
Wow.
And yeah, and I was like, yo, what are you talking about? And I spoke to him, and this is what it is. Everybody is dealing with this scenario in different ways. Now, as they say in every press conference, the Minister of Communications and the Ministry of Health is your only source for credible information. Yes, and this is the thing. Yes, we could share. Yes, we could say what we could say. Yes, we could come on and we could do little things, like if somebody asks. So, for example, even these soca artists, if somebody asks them to do something, yes, we may quietly, and there's the other thing, a lot of us quietly contributing to causes, and that's the way it should be.
Right.
That's the way I believe it should be. I don't believe we need to be out there with hampers in our hand, showing people faces like that. I don't. If people do that, if somebody does that, that's okay. That's okay. That's your way of dealing with it.
Right.
But me personally, and I know a lot of entertainers, they say it as well. If they have to give, they give very quietly, very humbly. Just because, and just like the courses that I have done, and some of the things that other entertainers have done, just because you don't see us doing it, doesn't mean we're not doing it. But if you ask a question, then you might be able to find out, wait now, yeah boy, I'll just use an example. This particular soca artist give over $20,000 to ITNAC.
Right.
And ITNAC going to communities and giving people food. And,
right.
So I wouldn't go hard on the influencers, so to speak. I just ask that all influencers be responsible.
Yeah. I have two more questions to ask you before I let you go. One is very, very, it's technical what we're dealing with right now. I think it's very important. Just want to see two people have comments here, which has to do with the talk that we had before. Sometimes a big song come on and you ain't here in a while and you're ready to like yourself for the song, and boom, the talk and the talk on the whole song, which is the truth. Yeah, right? True. And then I see somebody below that say, I do believe in giving and putting it up on Facebook for fame. I also agree with that. I don't really agree that should be the route that people take, but at the same point in time, I do understand Hans' point that if it is that somebody wants to show that this is how they are contributing to helping others, and hopefully by somebody else seeing that, they'll feel more inclined to do the same, which I guess was my only argument, that it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll come out and say, well, yo, I am so and so and I go and give $40,000 to whatever. Sometimes just encouraging people to do the right thing is more important than actually standing up and saying, well, yeah, I go and give 50 grand or 60 grand or 100 grand to whatever. That's just my point of view now. Quickly, I want to digress to what has been happening now, and again, I'll say why it is important for this conversation. Again, we have a lot of people that want to be MCs and want to work on the radio. So we already established in the earlier part of the conversation what is the difference between a mic man and an announcer, right? So from a person who in the media and seeing where it is happening, especially when we have press conferences daily, because I don't care what anybody tell me, whether you're young or old, you need to be informed of what is happening right now. And I had an argument, but I had a conversation on Facebook with an individual. I was saying, like, for example, the Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago is not their responsibility to police, so to speak, the reporters that are going on and asking questions. Why is that important to what we're doing? Because if you work in an urban radio station and you're not fully informed and utilizing these press conferences as something to be informed about, so when you go on radio, you could tell your audience where it is happening, you might be more inclined to follow misinformation than real information. What is your take right now on how the media is covering where it is happening, and how do you see that impacting especially urban radio, like young people listening to radio?
I think the population is showing that we more intelligent than sometimes the media thinks we are as a population, because you've seen it and you hear it. Like, think about it, like, this is the, so let us put this into perspective. Let us be honest. This is the first time the entire country is paying attention to the media and looking at the media for their information entirely. Just all the information, we're looking at our media as we're going to, because our life right now depending on this. So what they tell us we need to pay attention to. And then what happening is people listening to the press conferences and then reading an article the next day, and what the minister just said in the press conference, not matching up to the article. So kind of like, you know, so what we have happening is a nice thing where we are holding, where the media is being held more accountable than ever before. I will admit, it started off very rocky for media, and they have improved. And as a society, a lot of the times we don't give credit when people improve. Like a lot has been improved in terms of the questioning in the conferences. And that is because of the public pressure.
Right.
Be real, the people have the power. The people always had the power. But what we do with the power, if we choose to use the power, it's up to us. Yeah.
And I think as well, for young announcers and guys who want to be involved in radio on that level, you need to be informed again, because you have to have something to talk about.
Let me get some real Shomari, right? Like, what we need to remember is, as an announcer on radio, at any point in time, you could be put in a scenario where you have to interview somebody who is someone in society. I mean, not just talking about interview Marshall Montano as
right. Because I just to add to that, correct me if I'm wrong, but you of yourself had to do an interview with the Prime Minister already. That's correct, right?
Correct. I have interviewed Dr. Rowley on here.
Right.
I have also interviewed. No, I've had some very nice interviews in my time, and I thank God for that blessing. I have interviewed Dr. Rowley, and I actually interviewed him just before this whole marijuana legislation came in. And one of the questions I was able to ask him, and he was able to answer pretty well, was I asked him straight, did he ever smoke marijuana?
Yes, yeah, he did.
I felt that was such a great moment in my career to be able to ask the current Prime Minister that. I've even interviewed members of the opposition, Tahaka. I interviewed Senator Tahaka. I also interviewed the chairman of the Women's League of the UNC, Khadija Amin, on radio as well. I even had David Abdullah on one of the programs I was on once. And you get these opportunities to interview these people, and what do you do in this scenario, and are you able to execute the interview?
Correct. And
the thing, you kind of have to be prepared. You can't just, and that's why you can't just be a hype man or just a hype man, because that's not what it's about. I mean, again, those things have a certain limit and a certain cap. So I go back to Spirit, Josh Jace, Tamara Williams, A.V. St. Hill. A lot of these people will be forever. O'Brien Haynes, believe it or not, will be forever. Wendell Constantine will be forever.
Yeah.
Because you cannot beat these people at it. Once you have that talent, that announcer level, you're going to be able to hold it.
Yeah, I agree with you. So before we run out of time, because I don't realize we're over 10 o'clock, and I'm a director, I know that my director go and give a real talk. Is there anything that you want to leave, especially the individuals who want to get into this profession, as probably being the best advice that you could give them towards following the dream of being a radio announcer?
Be a student. Be open to learning. Be a student. Learn from everybody who is already there. Look at the people who you want to be like and learn from them. I would make this confession to you all. I paid heavy attention to Tamara Williams coming up. I paid heavy attention to Jason Williams. All these songmen, Doggy Slaughter, Cell Construction, Radioactive. I paid attention to these guys. When you look at somebody who paid attention, I don't know where his career will go, but like Lubes real paid attention to the people that were there. Like Lubes is a student of it. Lubes may not be what everybody expect or think should be the perfect announcer, but he's a student of it. Because he's a student, he may not be great in one area, but because he's a student, he's able to learn and maximize on so many other areas. When you look at even Poison is a student. Kevin X is a student. Like Kevin X woke up to me at a party in his very early, and he's like, yeah, I remember asking so about, and like them fellas are students, Dread, Major Penny. I really Penny. Akeem and Salty, like a lot of these fellas who people would think, hey boy, them just get big just so. Nah, these guys are students. These guys are very studious when it comes down to this entertainment business.
I get you.
Yeah, very professional. Very professional.
I get you. Well, I had two other things I need to ask you, but I'll save that because one, over 10 o'clock, and two,
go fast.
All right, so we had extra time now. So we call this extra time. This is extra time, right? What is your take on Trinidad and Trinidad?
Love it.
Why is it that you are in the love it or shove it? So you in the love it. So tell me why it is that you love it.
I love it. Let me tell you why I love it. These youths just expressing themselves, and if you look at it, a lot of these young people, they would have been involved in crime.
Let's say Hans love his zest, boy.
Love these zest. You must love these zest, Laird. You're crazy. Yeah. And it's because a lot of these other young people could have easily been involved in crime, and now in scenarios where they could help themselves and their families and their friends not be involved in crime. This is an avenue for them.
But what would you say to the argument, which I've heard from some people, that even though they've provided themselves with a forum or a platform to be able to be out of crime, they're still singing about crime. and they're still singing about that,
Right. So they have been, because legit, they just singing what a lot of them singing what they hearing for years, breads. Like what they've been hearing for years getting the airplay. A lot of these fellas, Plumpy Boss, Jelano, all of them have these real nice positive songs that they've been trying. But guess what? When you think these kind of songs, guess what? Let me sing a few more of these kind of songs. But in between there, you know what they do? They're giving you other songs too, and evolving and expanding the topics, because they have to understand these fellas are young fellas, and they just they learn, and they are actually learning right now. Like the way some people beating up on them is insane, because these same people listen to General Grant and Daddy Ozzy, gun in your waist, yes you are, done it up, boom boom boom, kai done it up, call in the dancehall. And then one of the things other people don't really understand, and this was when I was in New York, I actually took in this interview that Mr. Killer had on our radio station, and he was essentially saying that he's been trying to break into the soca scene for years. And I was telling people that these are guys that charted their own course because the mainstream of music in the country didn't really want to make a way for them, so they had to create their own way. So let me get into Mr. Trinidad Killer. I like his case most, right? So we say, why can't they mix it some puzzle? They actually do. So let's use Trinidad Killer, right? Trinidad Killer was Killer D, Soca Star. Second, I think the first season of Soca Star.
Yes, he was.
Kimber and Fireball, etc. Killer D. He used to go up on his head and whine and sing while he whining, way before Bubbles started doing it. Right? Everybody could have agreed that he's a fantastic act. Yes, whatever. People had problems with him, whatever. But he's been trying, and it's not been working out. It did not work out for him. At some point, he used to call himself John Wick, right? Trinidad Killer, second man in She-Hole. Everybody get attention. This big set of attention, bright light shine on him. You know what he do after? He sing a soca song. That is Zess. Get your attention. How could you look at Trinidad Killer and say, boy, waste of time? Nah, you can't. You just look at the surface and you're ready to kill the youths before they even start.
But I mean, you still have to admit that there is a legitimate argument, which is what I see in here, is that, why they can't mix up with some positive as well. There is a legitimate argument that some more positive music could be coming out from the camp. That is just my belief in it.
You see, here's the thing, right? When people say that, ask them if they know Jazzy Blaze, Letter to Mama. Ask them if they know the other Plumpy Boy songs. Ask them if they listen to, like, legit, I really like Prince Swanee. Prince Swanee has a piece of poetry in one of them songs where he says, I never met my daddy, have to be my own man.
Yeah.
Like, when you take in the depth of that lyric, that is a serious piece of poetry,
Yeah, it is.
Never met my daddy, so I have to be my own man, Boy, these fellas more serious than people think, and we just need to encourage them. Yes, we need to encourage them to do less violent music. Yes, we need to encourage them to do different topics. Yes, we do. But just don't shoot them. Like, we don't kill them now. We don't kill them. Because why? We've been listening to Cartel. We've been listening to Bounty Killer. Don't come and shoot down our own. Don't shoot them. Encourage them. Don't shoot them down. Don't kill them. Because we're killing the dream of and talent of somebody that right there. So for example, K-Lion, safe.
Yeah. So,
let's just encourage them to do better. Let's don't shoot them down. Don't just kill them.
I agree. I agree.
Don't kill you.
I agree. I seen Led saying here, just no zest for carnival. They could do what they want after. So then, that's a good follow-up in terms of where's your take on that, Hans? Should there have been zest in the carnival? Should there have been zest in the carnival?
Well, there was zest in the carnival. And while some people like it in Soca Monarch, I could tell you from actually being there, the people that did not like the zest in the Soca Monarch, funny enough, were the people who were not doing Soca Monarch.
Right.
The people who were in Soca Monarch, when them fellas hit the stage, as some people say they sound off-key and thing, them fellas get real forward. The way crowd reacted, it felt like the crowd in Soca Monarch came to see them.
Right.
Then come to see Swanee. When Swanee ran out on that stage in that red suit,
it was like he was Marshall Montano that night. It was literally like he was Marshall Montano that night. Yeah.
You understand? So I hear what my take on it is, right? It is our music. This music is our music. Now, we didn't complain when Vybz Kartel was in life.
Right.
We didn't complain when Bounty Killer sang a song with KMC and was also in the Fettin' Canon. Right. We don't complain come the big concert, when big concerts for Carnival, when artists from all over the world come in and sing it. You didn't complain when one of the big veteran DJs of our time come and play a set of dub plates in that same said concert.
Yeah.
But you want to kill we. Why are we killing ourselves? Why are we shooting us? We looking to shoot we.
Yeah.
That's our soldiers we firing behind.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying I want to hear Zest the whole kind of, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying if a promoter wants to hire them, why should that be a problem? Like, why is that such a big problem? Like, why don't need to stop killing them?
Well, I will say this to kind of close off this point. Having the opportunity to do carnivals in different countries, not all, but some other different countries, I've seen the integration of other genres into the carnival, but soca remains the predominant music that will be played. And it's because they are a little bit more open to understanding that it's about music and entertainment faster than just the type of music now. Now, I do understand the point where some people are saying that, yo, at the end of the day, carnival is soca season, if you want to look at it like that. I'm seeing Ken Sambury, big up Ken, saying that people will complaining that is soca monarch, and it should have been soca monarch. And then as Ken saying, which is the truth, he used to remember looking forward back in the day when Beenie Man would run out and soca monarch. And that's a perfect point. That is a perfect point. I think it's just a matter that we now have to change our conceptualization of what we look at carnival being. It's not necessarily meaning that it's supposed to be dancehall influenced or it's supposed to be heavy on dancehall. Yes, I also believe that it's time for soca artists to be able to build music and perform and make the money that they need to make. But at the same time, point in time, soca artists could actually sing music throughout the entire year. We could release some more music for the year.
So let me round up a few things here. So first of all, big respect to Irfan, what Irfan has been doing. What people don't realize is when Irfan releases songs during the year, and even when Second Star releases songs during the year, and even Nyla Blackman releases songs during the year, it filters into the carnival as well. So our new generation of soca artists has been doing that in a big way, right?
Right.
Next thing though that I have to touch on is, let us not pretend, people. There was a generation before us as DJs, when carnival finished, they used to not play soca music at all.
And at 12:01, when it turn on the radio, is one Beenie Man or one slows down the line, because you don't know what to expect. The switch turn at 12:01.
Right. They never used to play no soca in no parties. They never used to play no soca anywhere else when carnival done.
Yeah.
This generation, we playing soca right through.
Right.
So if the generation, meaning the partying people, because again, the audience is most important.
Right.
If the audience say they wanted some of that,
yeah,
would we not give the audience that? Because guess what? As a generation, we have embraced soca and even juve parties throughout
the year. Yeah.
So do not tell us, you go on, you get your chance, and you F up the culture.
Right.
Real talk, F up the culture. You know why? Because from the time carnival done, Ash Wednesday, nah, soca is devil thing after carnival Tuesday.
Yeah.
And you play a set of dub and thing and rah. And now you have a generation that coming and taking heavy forward from soca and ripping up the place with soca.
Yeah.
God tell us what we supposed to do in carnival as a generation. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
This is let us do our thing. We supporting our artists. We supporting our thing. This is how we going to approach it. Because guess what is the truth? The way we are approaching it, doing better.
Yeah. I just see Chappie in the comments saying that we asking people asking these assets to beef up their content, but nobody complaining about the soca artists expanding their content to sustain through the year, which is actually a good point, because I have always been one to believe that you can't sing 5 tracks just for carnival and expect that the rest of the year is going to sustain you just like that every single year. That is not, for me that's not a sustainable business model for music. And that is why in all the discussions I've had with all the DJs thus far, all of us saying that we're waiting to see what is going to happen for the next couple of months, because now that there are no carnivals really slated to happen, probably until carnival, possibly until carnival 2021, which they are now saying that will be a very different carnival. I am waiting to see how artists treat that, because at the end of the day, if it is that you are not releasing music and not putting out content, then are you telling me that you're only singing music for the season hearing that same music, period.
Now, let me tell you something, right? Somebody actually had a long conversation with somebody who listens to older music, and they were saying none of our artists in this day and age actually do anything that you could listen to and they could really tell you is like a timestamp when you listen to the song. So, for example, they were saying Kitchener Rainorama, and he actually mentioned, you know, the fact that people were scared, Carnival Rain, and during the song he actually even mentions in terms of polio.
Right.
Like he mentions things related. He doesn't say polio, but he mentions things related to polio.
Yeah.
And we really have songs of now that could paint a picture and tell you about the time. But
at the time, yeah.
If you listen to Swanee songs, you would know, you have a great knowledge. And if you listen to some of them Zessin songs, you have an image of the time. So, for example, touching on your hole when we talk about line, Gary Griffith, you better call it top cap. That one line timestamps now in Trinidad and Tobago. One line. And like we don't really have much of those things from artists, especially in soca, that could timestamp. So I think Bonnie Garland is a great example of a timestamp, but it's not necessarily the now timestamp, it is the then timestamp of his struggle or the struggle of artists that time.
Yeah.
So it's like we don't have songs that could, you listen to the song and you're like, oh, that's what's happening then.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. All right, so I'm approaching my second hour, so I want to make sure and save this, right? Hans, I really want to thank you for your time tonight, brother. As I've been telling everybody, I'm trying to use this platform of the Groove Theory crew to spread as much knowledge to individuals and actually have people, you know, have some content during this point of time and being home, which is a little bit different from the Zessin parties that we're seeing, but it has content that could actually help you to get some thoughts and to be able to use the information to your benefit. And I'm really hoping that a lot of the young DJs and announcers that listen to the conversation that we're having in terms of wanting to be an announcer, what it requires, the research it requires, the difference between an announcer and a hype man, and really and truly putting yourself in that mindset towards bettering your craft from that functional perspective. So I really thank you for your time tonight, brother. Continue doing the good work on radio. I was really listening to you pretty often. I might not necessarily say it, but I don't really listen to radio much, but you are one of the few fellas that actually sit around tune into. And it's because, as somebody was saying before, really and truly, I think you've been able to bridge that gap between actually getting good opinion, being informative, and still being entertaining at the same point in time. So continue the good work as you go through, and I wish you and your family all the safety for this point in time, bro.
Gratitude. Thank you to you all for having me. Respect everybody that logged in. And also, y'all just go behind it. Whatever it is in life, just go behind it. See NCW there, big respect, brother. Whatever it is, just go behind it. The worst you can get is a no, and a no is just the door to a yes, right?
I like that.
Just moving forward, legit, you'll just support your own designers, your own comedians, your own artists, your own DJs, your own everything. Support your own. Don't just shoot down your own. That's even your videographers. Support them. They are our own.
Yeah.
Help them. And this is the way we could all move forward if we support our own.
Yeah.
And it's real as it gets. And just do you. Whoever is your thing, just do you, Dre. Like, I know it's a weird example, but that guy, Tony Britz, like the man dead now, but he's doing his then. He popular now. His greatest time is after his time. Yeah. Your greatest time may be after your time. Yeah. So just do you.
Do you. For real. That's a perfect point to leave it on. I also remember that line that many times I know is a daughter, yes. That's a real important point. All right, brother. Well, we'll keep in contact. right? And keep doing you.
Man.
Yeah, man. Cool.
Yeah, man. Y'all take care. Love.
Yeah.